what's today? Today's Thursday, so I don't think I've ever seen that silence at 8 o'clock. So, I don't think I've ever seen, is there a time zone change and everybody's confused? They're going to show up an hour from now? I don't know. Here in Japan, we don't change time zones at all, so maybe there's something to do with it there. Anyway, good morning, guys. A lot of regular people are not here. Look at this. Wow. Wow. Okay. I'm just in time. I've been running this morning trying to get here. It's probably forgotten half the things I needed to get to. What's going on this morning? We have, of course, the normal carving work is here. We have a bit of an interesting show and tell today, actually. An interesting show and tell today. We'll get to that later. This also, what should I do with this stuff? We can just show you before I start the real work. Oh, that'll be another show and tell later in the week, kind of. We have prints. The people upstairs have been dumping prints. Oh, Andy's here in the morning. So, how do you like this weather? It's been a bizarre year. Just rain. And if this is the new paradigm for autumn in Japan, I don't like it. For me, autumn in Japan was always blue, beautiful, clear skies. Look at this. This is Ishikawa-san. She's got two groups here. We'll leave that group alone for a moment. Look at this. She's handed in some very nice prints here. Look at this. This is a back number, of course. This is from Portraits. It's the second print, I think, in the Portraits number 2. A game parody. And she just finished putting her name in it. And I guess you can see it here, Michelle. Jed doesn't get his name on these, but we get our names on them. We're selfish. So here we are. It's Hori carving Kawasaki-san, our carver in Kobe did this one, and Suri Ishikawa Yoko. She's really doing nicely. You know, she came to us 2012, the same year that Ukiyo Hiro started. Ishikawa is indeed Stone River, yes. So she came to us in 2012, so she's been with us 8 years now. She had worked before that as a hobby, making New Year's cards and stuff like that. And she's now a pro. She's professional. She's limited a bit. She can't do like 200 copies, bang, like some of the downtown pros can do. But she can do beautiful work and consistent. Look at this, nice consistent color. These are back numbers. We're taking lots and lots of orders for these back number series. So that'll be checked today and they'll go out to our Ome packing. There's more. This came from Kubota-san. These will need embossing because he doesn't do the embossing. But I won't sit there and do that today. Paper is out. Ishikawa-san's paper was out. And she came early again today. I went upstairs after I got up, 6 o'clock or so, jumped in the shower, came out, took her paper out, and as I was doing that with a towel around my waist, I hear the footsteps coming upstairs. I had to run. She comes early and leaves early. She wants to be on a time when there's a limited train, what's the word? A few customers on the trains. So she's upstairs now. She's printing this morning. She's working on Dragonfly, the Dragonfly orders. A few streams ago, I mentioned a video of Kubota-san printing from start to finish and mixing the colors. Hi. Yeah, let's find it. It'll just take me a second here. It's the one where he's printing, he's doing the test printing on the snake. It's called the Serpent Strikes. Here we are. Copy link address. There's your video, sir. And this is also from Kubota-san. This is another back number. This is from last year's series, the Japan Journey series. And if we look at the two, Ishikawa-san's work and Kubota-san's work, side by side looking at them, we wouldn't really be able to see so much difference, one print to the other. They've both done a beautiful job. She does hers carefully and slowly and neatly, and she did maybe 40 copies there, and it might have taken her 4 or 5 days. Kubota-san here has done 90 copies, and it would have taken him maybe 2.5 days. I mean, the guy's a machine. He was trained as a professional machine, trained to watch the clock. He tells a great story about his first day on the job, you know, his first couple of days on the job. They gave him a simple work. It was like 2 colors or something, a food wrapper or whatever, and a stack of paper, bang, X hundreds of copies. He tells it a little bit different every time he tells the story, but whatever. They give him 400 copies. He's there at 9 o'clock in the morning, go. And nobody tells him what to do. So the kid sitting next to him says, look, here, get this round thing here. It's like, they start him off. And he's like rubbing these food wrappers. And I guess he goes on for 1 or 2 hours. The guy comes by and sees that he's done like 10 sheets. And there's 400 sheets left and says, you do realize, you know, 6 o'clock, they're going to be finished by 6 o'clock, you know. And Kubota-san is like, what? The kid says, get going, you know. And whatever, the story varies all the time, he tells it. The point being, at a workshop like that, you were really under strict pressure to get going. Because these guys were paid, and when he started that, it was no longer piecework per color, it was a salary. Because he was under salary, he really was under pressure to get going. And the other part of the story he tells is that evening he went out and bought a clock with a second hand. It sits on his desk, and he's then learning how to pace himself, how many seconds for each color, for each block, you know. I really wish he would sit here and tell stories, because anyway, there it is. Beautiful print. I've got to put his name on because he refuses to put his own name on these, so I have to do that later this afternoon. Okay, let's get these out of the way. The colors look light. It's washed out because of the bulb here. Actually, it's really quite rich. Let's zoom in and have a look. The lighting here is not good for printing. Look at this. It's really quite a nice rich print. Here we are. Beautiful gradations on the sky. I'm happy with this print too. Also, my fingers are all over this design too. Jed sent me his first rough proofs of this. We had a Skype session back and forth, and during the conversation, try this, this image came to life. So it's Jed's picture, but I had some, my fingers are in there. I like this one very much. Really quiet, really simple, but I like this a lot. I hope this is the kind of work that we will mostly be known for and remembered for later on. I hope. That's part of last year's series, which is still available. You can sign up for that anytime. It's still open, last year's series. Okay, let's find where we were. We were carving just below the last... Yeah, guys like Kubota-san, Asuka-san, the carver, you know, the guy who worked at Takamizawa. I would love to do some interviews with those guys. They're all so private, though. They don't want to do camera stuff. Oh, no, I don't want to sit in front of the camera. They've got this idea that the internet is this bad place. You know, you read newspaper stories, and all you read about is the black hats and the hacking and this and that. So they just have this idea that the internet is just keep away from it, you know. Or someone has told them, look, do YouTube videos, and they're like, no, YouTube comments and stuff. I don't want to be part of that world, and you know, it doesn't have to be like that, right? Are we okay? In focus? Looks good. Do I have any prints with a, I don't know what you're asking me, I'm sorry. G-U-Q. Is that a mistype? G. You'll have to rephrase that, I'm sorry. I have no idea what that question is. A Chinese instrument. I'm sorry, no. I know we have very few prints here with Chinese themes at all. No, I'm sorry. We've got our own world, and okay, let's get at least a little bit of work done. Oh, also, I needed a hand. Do we have people in the stream today with good kanji knowledge? I know, are there any native speakers here in the stream today, or people with much better knowledge than me? I'm going to post a link in. This is the book. I scored a Yahoo auction that it came late last night. I've got the book here this morning. We're going to open it today on stream and have a look at it. And this is the auction. Oh no, that's not it. This is the auction page, and you can have a peek at it. And what I need to know is I need to know the reading of the kanji on the front cover of this little amateur book. It's a book of prints sent out to an amateur group of collectors. And I've heard about this group, and I'm not sure what their name is, but I can't read the florid calligraphy on the front page. They got too artistic, and I can't read it. So. Rush this morning, God. Laundry, morning, shower. Late. I was up late last night, so I got up late. Yeah. Visible, right? We're on camera. Good. Ah, it's a koto type instrument. Okay, well we do have koto type stuff in our prints. Let me think about this while I carve here. I'll pop up some links or whatever. So, paper's out. Yes, as I said, Ishikawa-san came. I brought her paper out just seconds before she arrived, coming up the stairs. Me and my towel there. Someone is hungry. Me too. Oh, me. Is it audible? Shall I move the mic? If I move the mic up a bit more? I don't know. Sorry about that. I am indeed hungry. Sorry about that. At least, whatever for background noise on the stream, at least we don't have the construction next door yet. It's clear, what's happening. The deconstruction crew, the people who took this shop next door, who took it apart, they were scheduled to do it from October the 1st to October 12th. And they finished it in 2 days. But the company who's coming in to build the next part of it, to build the shop, they clearly were scheduled to start October 13th. I guess their schedule is not so flexible. So we've got 1 week here where nothing is happening next door, and it's very quiet and peaceful there. And then it will start, I'm sure it will start with a bang. So from October 13th, we'll have some noisy background streams. But until then, the only noise is going to be me, I guess. Yeah, the storm, a typhoon or not, we don't know. It could work itself up to a real typhoon or not. At the moment, they're still calling it a tropical storm, and it's due to hit here sometime over the weekend. I think it's Saturday afternoon. I'm not sure. I didn't see the latest news. So we're in for a wet time the next few days. Whether it's going to be a real stormy time, I don't know. The path of the typhoon is pretty much straight over Japan. It's one of those that comes out of the Pacific, heads south, and then says, no, I don't think I'm going to go to Taiwan. I think I'm going to go to Japan instead. It turns around, heads for Japan, and then goes right up the whole length of the country. But this one doesn't look too strong, so who knows? Who knows? We'll find out in a few days. And part of the problem with this is that, of course, it's been raining already for like weeks at a time. So the ground already is saturated in many places. So when this big rain hits, bang, that's it. All the rain all of a sudden goes straight down. No reason for us here to be in any particular danger, but who knows? Parts like these branches, these are not, no. The needles, pine needles are much more fun. I'm not supposed to say that actually, If Ito-san heard me say that, he'd be wrong, you're really just an amateur. Amateurs have fun, and they have parts they like and they have parts they don't like. Professionals are not supposed to do that. So I really shouldn't say that sort of thing. But yeah, those pine needle type places are much more fun than something like this. These branches, the branches to me are sort of, I don't know. There's no nice special taste in them. But the pine needles, they each had a sharp. They started thin, they went wide. They've got a curve. They've got a thing at the end. They're sort of more classically fun to carve. Whereas these branches are just much more sort of dirty pieces of wood. Whatever. Who cares? I'm not supposed to say that. Absolutely, I'm not supposed to say that. But I noticed also, I know the other day, must have been Saturday when Taran was here, Taran Casey, the other guy who was carving here in Japan, learning how to carve. He mentioned something about that. We were carving those pine needles. He was here last Saturday. And I forget his exact words. He said something like, "These are so much fun to carve," something like this, So he too, I know he and I, we are trying to do this properly. We are trying to do this seriously. We're trying to be professional about this. But there's an inherent difference in the way we do this than guys like Ito-san, the old carver, And part of it is generational. We, in our era, still want to enjoy our work. We want to enjoy our job. It sort of comes with the territory these days, right? All of you probably want the same thing. You make a living doing something, and even though the purpose of work is to, get your money and pay your rent, and you sort of go to work and then you do your hobbies when you come home, we still want to feel like we're enjoying our job. But that's not something that has been the case probably through most of human history, and certainly not these guys who we're training from. The idea that you could enjoy your job or should enjoy your job or even might enjoy your job never occurs to them, There's no right or wrong, whatever. They look at me. Well, the guys I'm talking about now, they're mostly gone, so it's kind of pointless to talk about it in that sense. But people like Ito-san in that video, and that's part of the thing. If you've seen that Remembering a Carver video, you remember I was sort of not upset, but I harped on that scene where he said, "You're an amateur, you're doing this, just you choose what you want to do. You're not a real shokunin." He wasn't, we were laughing as we said this sort of thing. He was sort of laughing at me. But I get it, he could not understand my approach, But, to get to the point here, I'm carving these branches, and if I let myself fall into that, "Oh, crap, this is a boring part, let's get through it." If I let myself think that, then the work is not going to get done properly. And this is a key point, a key point. You really have to be careful not to let yourself have likes and dislikes in this sort of thing. At least when it's a job that's in front of you and you have to do it, The modern people, Karen, if she's on here today, whatever, she's making prints of her own design and her own construction. So by definition, there's only stuff in there that she likes or wants. But when you're a craftsman carving stuff that somebody else prepared, this is the dangerous part. If you let yourself have likes and dislikes, it ain't going to go well. So those guys were right at that sense, at that part of it, Is this our Oshibori people? I didn't see them come by there. I've got the door closed. I can't tell if have they left the truck running. Should I put the microphone off? I can't tell. Dave's Creek, it'll come up if it's a typhoon, but no problem. You saw how deep, deep, deep that river was back in my Ome house. There's no typhoon that's going to be able to hurt that, you know, so. Make a print of the street view. Yeah, right. You've got the real thing. Why do you need a print of it? So. Okay. If it gets noisy outside, let me know. There's a separate microphone outside. I can turn that off. Because I've missed a lot of the stream here, has anybody come up with a reading for the kanji, the name of that booklet, the name of the group? I'll have a go at it when we get to show and tell time. I don't know. Also, yeah. There is something else. The sort of local street news here. I know. Be careful about how much I talk about here. Okay, we can do some of this. I know. Every first Tuesday of the month here on this street. This is called Dokudori, Dokuku 6th District Street. The street of the 6th District. Dokudori. It's not Dokudori, street number 6. It's the street of the 6th District. Anyway, whatever. So the Dokudori, Shotengai, the business association, the group of businesses on this street. It's a 2-block street here. I'm in one block. There's one block to the left down towards Don Quixote. And the merchants on both sides, there's about 20 of us all together. We have an association. And they've been here long before I came. Of course, this was set up, whatever, I've got no idea, since the year dot. And I just came in and stepped in when we rented this place here. We pay a small fee every month, about $40, $50, and it helps provide some street maintenance and electricity for the lights and stuff like that. Anyway, and the deal is the cleaning. You've seen this. We've blogged about it before, and Cameron put up, I think, an Instagram post a while ago on this. The first Tuesday of every month, with the exception of the New Year Tuesday, the first Tuesday in every month is cleaning day. And at 10 o'clock in the morning, we, meaning all the people who work and live on this street, we all gather outside with our brooms and stuff like that, brooms and buckets and whatever. And the association has also prepared a bunch of hoses and attachments and brooms and whatever, and scrapers. And we go at it, and for 1 hour or so, we clean the street, scrubbing off chewing gum and just hosing everything down and wiping the lights, climbing up on a ladder. I get that job because I'm the tallest on the street here. I climb up the ladder to do the dust on those comedians' faces. The comedian guy you see right here at the top of this thing. Last Tuesday morning, I was polishing his face up on a step ladder. I do not like this. I do not like heights at all. I'm up on that ladder in my sandals, idiot Dave here. I'm up on that ladder polishing this guy. I don't do the whole street myself. One of the guys from the local tendon shop here, he's also quite tall. He may be taller than me, actually. And we split it half and half. He does the first block, and I do this block, the second block. Anyway, where was it? Long story. So we're cleaning this thing on Tuesday. And the custom is after we're all finished cleaning, a bunch of people go back to work and go home. And then the Kaicho-san, the leader of the group, corrals a bunch of us. Come on, let's head to the coffee shop there. Let's have some coffee, And usually I'm like, oh my God, I got to get back to work, and I got to get back to work. But the problem is I've said recently too many times, I got to get back to work. He says, you're bored, you got to get around. So I'm okay. I go in there and sit down at the coffee shop. Now these days I really am avoiding. I don't eat out in restaurants. I'm masked up. I do not want to go to this coffee shop. But whatever, social obligations. So anyway, so we're sitting there masked up and open the mask to drink coffee and close the mask and do whatever. Anyway, the guy I'm sitting next to, I'll leave off his name here for obvious reasons in a minute. The guy I'm sitting next to, we start chatting about the changes in the street and the new people coming in, and he asked me if I've spoken to the Kaneko-san yet, the guy who's coming in next door, and he seems like a nice guy and blah, 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 blah. And then he says, what do you think about the empty shop at the end of the street? And we can see it here. The camera's pointing in the right direction. You can see the place with the green awning there, just to the right of our lamppost. That's the last shop on our street. And it's not on our street, it's across the intersection. And that's one of the buildings that backs onto Sensoji Temple. But somehow when they drew the little map of who's going to be which association and whatever, that shop got dropped into this group. So it used to be an udon restaurant. I eat there now and then. Quite nice people, casual. It's a local restaurant. It wasn't for tourists, wasn't for anything. It was just get your udon, slurp it down, say thanks, goodbye, and away you go. They were real nice people. They left for what reason, I don't know. They decided to retire or the rent was something, or I have no idea what happened, but they left. Over the next few weeks, it was gutted. We saw some of it here, and now it's not gutted anymore. It's ready. And there's been something interesting. People have been there to look at it. Not so much recently, but a month or a couple of months ago, you'd hear the sound of the shutter going up, and there's a real estate guy with his suit, and then some other people looking at it, humming and hawing, and maybe they measure a few things, whatever. So a bunch of people came to look at it. But then, in the past now, it's been a couple of months, I guess, silence, sheen, nothing. And I was chatting with Yamaguchi-san yesterday. I said, Leo, what's the story on this place? He said, oh, yeah. Didn't you hear about this? And he says, the previous tenant left X months ago. They gutted it. The landlord put it on the market for $1,600,000. This is a tiny, tiny place. It's about like the first quarter of my shop here, and it's 2 floors upstairs. There's a storeroom upstairs. The stairs are too steep for customers. You can't really use the second floor. $1,600,000. Now in US dollars, that's like, 15 grand, 16 grand. Monthly rent for that place. And because it's a restaurant type place, they want a heavy security deposit, 3, 4, 5 months security deposit. It's not New York City pricing, it's Tokyo pricing. This is one of the most popular places in Tokyo. If you want to do a restaurant here, whatever, I get it. Anyway, the deal was, and I had no idea about this, so people came in, looked, and the landlord realized, wait a minute, so many people are chasing this place, I must have priced it too low. So it turns out, he pulled it off the market. Sorry guys, go away, we're not going to rent this right now. Waits a month, puts it up to $2 million. And now, nobody's biting. But this deal, I got to be careful what I say. I'm not a commie pinko, but landowners. The guy there, he's obviously trying to get the maximum every possible yen. Someone's got to run a business in there, make a product, sell a product, pay staff, pay taxes, pay all this stuff, pay his rent, and then make a living. And the landlord has tried to calculate what's the maximum possible rent we can get from this place so that guy doesn't die. It's like he's got you like this. Can I squeeze a bit harder? Can I squeeze a bit harder? Can I squeeze a bit harder? Landlords, I got to be careful on whatever. We're not in that situation. Our landlady is just whatever. She's to die for. She likes us. She wants to make a living out of this place. She wants to get her rent, but she has no desire to choke us to death, to get the maximum. I really am two minds about this. I'm basically a capitalist at heart. In high school, when I was in high school, it was in the 60s, 1964, 65, 66, and there were even meetings in our school they wanted to do meetings because Mao Zedong was doing his thing then. This was the Cultural Revolution. And there were meetings of students in our school to have meetings and express support for the Chinese Revolution against the rough, bad Americans who were going to bomb the world, That was the mood when I was a kid in school, and I was not part of that. I'm not going to pretend that I knew what the Cultural Revolution was really about. I knew nothing about it. But I wasn't so stupid enough. So yeah, I'm a capitalist. You put your work in, you earn, you save, you buy a piece of land, and now you're the landlord because the other guy didn't work and save and do that. I get it. But, $1.6 million, he gets 3 offers, so he takes it back, puts it to $2 million, and now he doesn't have any offers, and it's been empty for months. And I really, I shouldn't talk about this because I really do not want my landlady to hear these numbers. Because as nice as she is and as helpful as she is, if she's a little bit living in the past. It's like me, Nate. When I see the price of something, I keep thinking, that should only be $1, because it was $1 when I grew up, and the fact that it's now $10, it's normal for the people who are here now, So she's a little bit like me in that sense. She's a little old lady. She's older than me. So the numbers in her mind are the numbers that were common X years ago. And she really probably doesn't have much of a handle on what the numbers are these days. So I should not talk about these kind of things, $1.6 million, and they got 3 offers. I saw on the stream there some comparisons with New York and stuff like that, and maybe London. There's a major difference here with these things. We have our rent. We pay our rent to the landlady, and that restaurant will pay their rent. New York people, they pay their rent to the building owner. But business taxes, I've read some numbers from New York because there's been stories about the pandemic and how even when they get a rent rebate, they're still getting slaughtered by business taxes to City Hall. Our business taxes here are much more reasonable than what I'm aware of in other big cities like that. I pay business tax as a corporation to the government, to the national government, but I don't pay some business license tax to Tokyo City Hall. I pay nothing like that at all. We do have prefectural taxes. So Tokyo as a prefecture, I do pay a prefectural tax as part of my profits and stuff like that, but not as every month I need to pay a tax to Tokyo to run a business in this particular location. That doesn't exist at the level that we're doing it here. Yeah, there's discussion about, the capitalism, the landlord, the landowners, and the non-landowners. At heart, I think it's a sensible situation where I see it here. In an area like this, I see distortion that destroys things. The local mall, they call it the Rocks. Some big corporation got together, bought out a bunch of smaller landowners, and built a block-size mall there. And they've been open now for 3 or 4 years. And I tell you, the shops change and rotate every few months. Nobody can run a stable business in there because clearly the rents are extortionate. And some young couple coming in, I think we want to have this little ramen shop. They've had their dream for many years. They save up their money, but they're not really good at calculating and projecting business and stuff like that. And they spend their life savings on this little ramen shop, and 3 months later they're gone. The rents are too extortionate. So the system, I get it, but in actual practice, it's not working. In a place like this, it's not working. Where was I? There's also another story, about this rent. That was the first story that this guy Chad told me about while we're drinking coffee. And we're talking about the rents and stuff like that. And he knows that I can't tell him my rent. He wants to know how much I'm paying. But my landlady put it in the lease. She put it in the lease that the amount of money you're paying on rent is not to be let out to third parties. I'm not quite sure why she did this. It could be that she's playing with her taxes and stuff, and she's worried that if, she declares something different from what I'm paying. I really don't know. I know nothing about that. It's not my business. She asked me not to tell, so okay, I don't tell. No problem at all. So the guy that I was chatting with, we've been through this conversation before. He knows I can't tell him what the rent is, and he says, okay, so I'm not telling you mine either. We're laughing about this, ha ha ha. But he's in the same position as me too. He's in a rundown, derelict building, and I think he's getting it pretty cheap. I don't know. But he told a story about the neighbor to him, a business that came up, and let's leave it like this, a business that opened up here sometime during the past year. The building itself had come open sometime before this. It was a little financial office, a little tax accountant in a little tiny 2-story building running, having a tax business. He retired just about the time we came here, about 6 years ago, closed the office, and it just sat there quiet. There was occasional, people would inquire, is it rentable or stuff like this? And I'm like, I don't know, no idea. There's no sign on it. Search me. One day, this is a year or so ago, construction company comes in, cleans it up. The old man has apparently passed away. It's now coming onto the market. Anyway. So it turns out the history is a little bit different than what I thought. Somebody did rent it for the posted price, which was 540,000 yen per month. Just about $5,000. $5,000 per month was the rent for this place, for a little tiny shop space, 2 stories. Much smaller than this. Maybe about the first room of what I've got here. No problem. But what this guy does then is he thinks that he knows more than anybody else here, and he's willing to pay 540,000 for this. And he puts it on the market himself again for 800,000. This is about $8,000. And right away, he rents it out to somebody. That company comes in. They are now doing a flourishing little business. But we now have the business people paying rent to an intermediary who is keeping $3,000 for himself and paying the main rent up to the landowner, who clearly in this case priced it too low. So this thing is going on all over the place. There's winners and there's losers, and what's the location really worth? It's impossible to tell till you put it in the market and find out what someone's really willing to pay for it. And whether or not they can keep a sustainable business in that location. It's a dirty game, it's for sharks. It's not for minnows. I'm a minnow, and these are the sharks out there playing this stuff, Somebody outside there? Oh, on the way to school. On the way to kindergarten, I think that one is. As usual, I'll catch up with this later. I can't, follow all the back and forth here. So, A lot of lease contracts disallow subleasing. Mine does as well, in fact, and probably the one there also probably disallows it, I think. Mine does very much. In fact, they made that very clear when we were doing our first lease here. The landlady is a really nice little old lady, but of course there's a real estate agent, the lawyer types are in between us. And they made that very clear to me. They were afraid when we rented this place, because I'm a foreigner, one thing they were afraid of, and this is a legit fear, they're afraid that I don't know the culture, that what's normal and what's not normal. And there's a page multi-contract. We don't really read those things. So they wanted to make sure that I understood a bunch of stuff that, whatever. And that was one of the things they made really clear, that don't even think about subleasing it or subletting it, that this was a lease arrangement I was signing myself and not to be sublet. And what I don't know is how much of that is honored in the breach and how much of it is really serious and not, because I've heard these examples of this happening around me here. So I don't really know what to think about that. We've been told not to do this. We have no intention of doing it. But it does seem to happen. A similar thing happened back in 1986 when I first came here, not to Asakusa, when I came to Japan, and we rented our apartment building, and it was a new building going up, and we got a unit in it, and there was no problem with me being a foreigner. They were happy to have me there. In fact, they happily showed me around. I had been looking at something in a shop window, a real estate agent window, and the lady came out and said, "Come on in, let me show you what we got." And I was a foreigner, and I'm like, I've heard these stories that foreigners can't get a place to live in Japan, and this lady's come outside and said, "Come on in, show you what we got." And I'm like, okay. So she did show us. We did like the building, and we did choose it. We ended up living there. But when it came time to sign the lease, a couple of days later, my wife is there with me doing all the Japanese, and we got our hanko. The real estate agent did, and they took a couple of clauses in this contract, and they circled them in red, signed a little initial, and she made me initial these places too, to show that I really had specifically seen that clause. Signing the bottom of the contract wasn't enough. She circled a clause, signed it herself, and then said, "Please read this," and explained it, and she signed it. And it was the clause that said, "No pets. No pets." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, we have no pets. We don't have any plan to get a pet. Don't worry, I signed. No sweat. Don't worry. This is 1986, autumn of 1986. We're moving into this place, You know where this story's going. It's half a year later, whatever, I'm out grocery shopping or something. I come home and my wife and the kids are there, and there's this meow, and they found a kitten, abandoned kitten in the park that was on the verge of death. It had been thrown away. I think 3 of them were already dead, and this was the one that wasn't quite dead. They bring it home, they feed it warm milk, and here we are. It survives, and now we have a pet. And I'm like, "But wait a minute, you remember what we signed?" And she says, "So you want me to take this back to the park, do you?" And I'm like, and of course, the shit hit the fan. Sometime later, we get the guy comes around and said, "There's been reports from a couple of the neighbors about," and I'm like, "You mean the cat, right?" And he says, "Yeah, you admit it?" I said, "Come on in, I got a story to tell you." And there it is, and I'm like, what am I going to do? And he's in the same thing, like, what are we going to do? 2 little kids, 3 years old and 1 year old. By now they would have been 4 years old and 2 years old. A cat rescued from the park. There's some things in life you can control, and there's some things in life that you just cannot control. And, there I was between a rock and a hard place. No, between the lease and a very soft place. So. Actually, they let it go. They didn't sue us. They didn't throw us out. They didn't jump and scream and shout. And we ourselves, from our part of it, we tried to be really circumspect. One of the neighbors had discovered we had this little kitten there, but we really tried for the most part over the years. That cat stayed with us. through 10 years, I guess, of living in that place. So a lease is a lease is a lease, and whatever. Are the crows loud out there? I've got the door closed. It's a chilly morning this morning, so I've closed the door, but I can hear the crows in the background, but not so loud. But maybe out there in the mic it's different. I don't know. Shoop tap 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 shoop tap. No, we kept the cat. The cat lived there. It happened to be one of these cats that was a very, sleep, eat, sleep, eat, sleep, eat. It just slept. And in fact, there's pictures on our blog. The cat got a little bit famous. I do TV interviews for the Poets series, and that cat, as soon as I started carving in my room there, I didn't have a big bench like this. I sat on the tatami mats, my legs crossed, and carved. And it's winter. We don't have central heating in the place. So the cat knows the only warm place in the building. The kids go to school, I sit down to start carving, and shoom, I got a cat sitting in between my crossed legs, and I'm carving, and it like, I got to go to the bathroom, or I got to go get coffee or something, and the cat's wow. So there was really no trouble for the neighbors. It was okay. The cat, it was funny. And when my kids left, when they became middle school students, they left to go to Canada. This is about 10 years later. They took the cat with them. They were like three sisters. I have two girls, two daughters, and their names are Himi and Fumi. And there's an alternate reading of their name. It's sort of a semi-in joke in the family. This is not the character names of their name, but an alternate reading of their names, Himi and Fumi. Hi is a word for hitotsu, number one. And Fumi, she wasn't named after Mount Fuji, she was named after something else, but Fu is also accounting for number two. So a side twist of their names are number one, number two. And it was their first daughter and second daughter. So when this cat came along, you know what the name comes. It's not Himi, it's not Fumi. The cat became Mi, three, Mimi. So the cat was the third daughter here. And they were inseparable, of course. So when they moved over to Canada, when they became teenagers to go to school over there, to go to high school, they took Mimi-chan with them. They went through we did the thing about the medical checks and quarantine, and then put the cat in a cage and threw it on the airplane, and away she went. So my three daughters moved over to Canada, and that was the last it wasn't the last I saw her. I met her once more at Himi's place, and shortly before she died of cancer at about 20 years old. So that little lucky little cat, its siblings died that day in the park there, in that cardboard box that somebody threw away in the park. But Mimi-chan got pulled out, and she survived for 20 years, had an international lifestyle on TV. Sannin Musume. cats. I shouldn't have mentioned cats. Yeah, I mentioned a cat ruining the pile of prints. So we had real trouble with Mimi-chan this those years back in that. We lived in a mansion, meaning a Japanese mansion, a condominium. And it had two main rooms side by side. I worked in the tatami room doing my printing. And there was no room to have a huge press to get the prints flattened and stuff. So after finishing each batch of prints, I would get the first level of moisture, put the prints out on the tatami mats to get rid of a bunch of the moisture, and then stack them up in a bunch of little pressing boards to get the rest. I couldn't have a thick stack to put wet prints inside. So I needed to semi-dry the prints first on the tatami mats. If you just put them down and leave them dry all the way, they shrivel up. But if you take out most of the moisture first by air drying and then put them in a stack, you're okay. And yeah, the story is Mimi-chan, of course. It's cats. You put something on the floor, newspaper, print, whatever, you know the deal. They have to walk on it. And the more I would fight with her not to walk on these, the more she is determined, I want to know what's going on here. And it went back and forth over many, many years. Of course, I shut the door to that room, put him out. I can hear her scratching, and she actually was able, normally, to open the doors. She knows how to open a sliding door. She can't close it behind her. So I'm putting the prints down. The cat's sliding the door open bit by bit. I'm putting prints down. I turn around. Mimi-chan, keep out. She jumps over me, just launches herself, jumps over me and down right in the middle of the prints on the floor. And it's like, these prints are the Poets Series prints. They go for 10,000 yen each. I've just finished a batch of them. The customers are waiting. And she lands in the middle of this batch. Slump, slump, slump. And I'm, you. I chase her. She runs. There's prints flying. Just grab her by the tail. So yeah, there are stories. Most of the time, we were a happy couple. We were happy together. Life with cats, yeah, so. No cat in my life now. I'm done with that. I had two. Mimi-chan was the first. Well, she wasn't the first cat in my life. She was the first cat as an adult. When I grew up, as my mother knows here, there's lots of stories. There was usually, not always, there was usually a cat in the house when we were growing up in Canada. And then that one, Mimi-chan, was part of my life for 10 years. And then later, when I moved to Ome, the neighbor's cat, Boots-chan, became a very nice part of my life there until she passed away of old age. But I'm done now. No more cats. I'm done. Okay for time, are we? What's our time? It's going quickly today. 9:02. We're still good. like I said, it's not so interesting to see this part of it. You know, it's part of the job. It's got to be done. And at the end of the day, when people are looking at the print, almost nobody will ever notice this sort of stuff. It's just little branch shapes, you know. But if they weren't there, the print would be funny. It's just background for part of it. We'll get more of it here, you know. And then down here later, for example, on this piece of tree branch, whatever, the dots and the little dots around here, part of this flowers. They're a little bit time consuming to carve. They're not fun. They're not beautiful. But if they weren't there, the picture wouldn't be what it is. So it's not always just about the bird or the pine needles, something that you'd notice, you know, or the sun. All this background stuff is part of the picture. It has to be done as well. So the job for today and the next couple of days still will be get this tree branch done. It's just part of the job. Just a quiet part of the job. So they're vital to the design, of course, as we said. You know, it's all part of the big picture, all part of the big picture. How are we doing for time? A few minutes left still. Quiet. Oh, rating party, rating party. Hello, guys. Who is it this time? David Peterson. Good morning, guys. You're at a quiet time here on this stream again. It's always a quiet time on this stream. We're carving branches this morning. Branches. If there are a whole bunch of people visiting, then time to show what's going on then, I suppose. Let me zoom out a bit. Whoops, wrong way. We're carving the key block. This is the raw image. This is the design of what's going on. It's an image from a Japanese designer from the 1700s called Koryusai. It's a nature print. There are cranes and pine trees and a rising sun. It's a traditional New Year type image. And what we're carving right now is the first block. It will be the key block. This is the block that's going to have the outlines that you see here. And if I finish this, or when I finish this and print it, the result would look like this. Later on, there will be more color blocks carved to bring more life and color to the design. That's the concept. We're carving a block that will be the key block for an ukiyo-e print. And the idea being, leave the black lines. Take away everything that isn't the black lines. And it takes a while. Time, is it? Time. Okay. Show and tell time. Okay. We need too much room today. We can shrink this down a little bit. Okay. Before What's this? No John today. I mean, some of the regular viewers are not here. Like maybe. Okay, tonight. Okay, before I open the package, it's actually a package. Here, let me pop the link in again. This is the auction link. This is the package we're going to look at today. I got the auction a few days ago. Paid for it. It arrived a couple of days ago. I saved it for you guys to open up here. But before I open it, what we're looking at is this kind of a print. We've seen these on Show and Tell before. These are generically called match label prints. They came from an era in Japan when you had collectors commissioning print workshops to make prints for them. And one common type was these little ones that they call match label prints. Again, we saw these before, but this is the base of what we're going to look at today. These were things made in the late Taisho, early Showa period. They were made by collectors groups who would think of a theme, pay money together, all joining in together, and commission a printmaking workshop to make sets of prints with a theme. This is just a little random group that we had left over that I was showing you before. Anyway, that's the background. These are the groups of people who collect small prints that are generically called match label prints. They had their origins in actual real matchboxes. These prints are nothing to do with being on a matchbox for smoking, but that's the origin of them. Companies that were making boxes of matches in the days before color printing would use woodblock printing to make the covers of these match label packets. People started collecting them from the local bars they were going to, and over time these groups morphed into groups that would actually make their own prints. They're smaller than playing cards. They're match label cards. When I was a kid, we had some kind of, they were bubblegum cards, but they were also smaller cards that fit the match packets. Anyway, this is, as I said, the auction link. You've seen it there. This is a little book. And what this is it's an album, like a stamp album, where one of the collectors has put stuff into an album, pasted it up and put it into an album. But this one is different. We've seen a bunch of these albums before. And when I saw this on auction last week, I really, really, really wanted to get this one, because this is not a collector's homemade album. This is an album made up, formed together by the group's central committee, or whatever you would call it, and then the album as such would be sent out to each member. Most of the time the prints in their small package would be sent out. This one is an actual commemorative type album. And it's from a group that I've not known before. There was lots and lots of these groups. Because we get these albums all the time, we know lots of them. This one I don't know, and I can't read it. This looks like B from Bijutsu, beauty, utsukushi. This is right to left writing. And this one I at first thought was saiwai, yorukobi, pleasure. So I thought it was, it would be then pronounced yukimi, the pleasure of beauty, or stuff like that. But looking at it again, that's not the right character. And I can't read it in this florid form. And hopefully inside the book, we're going to have the thing printed properly, and we can see what the kanji character is. What we can read is the date. It's Showa 6, the 9th month, the 5th day. Showa 6, our usual man who does this, John Becker, is not here today. Showa 6. It's easy to work out. I was born in Showa 26, which was 1951. So subtract 20, 41. This is 1931. 1931. And this is a name, Nagao. This says, I can read this. We're going to see some neat stuff here. So this is 1931, an album being sent to the collectors of one of these match label groups. But when I saw this on the auction, I'm like, wait a minute, this is different from all the rest. Most of the labels in this group look almost handmade. Usually the groups in those ones I showed you a moment ago, they're professionally made, professionally carved, professionally printed. But these ones, a bunch of them in this group, look totally homemade. And we have the names stamped here of each of the group members. We see these names all the time. This is Uemura-san. This is Ozaki-san. This is Furuya, Tanaka. These are group names that we see, Ogawa-san. But these are clumsy little prints, and I don't get what's happened here. There's no way these are made by the same professional workshop that made most of these match label prints. And like maybe this was some special thing they did where they each actually made some themselves. This is really going to be an interesting little album. Back in these days, in fact, not in these days, when I even first came to Japan in the 1980s, it was really common for people to make New Year's cards out of woodblock printmaking. So sort of everybody could do this a little bit. Everybody did it in school. They chop with a little piece of wood, squirt with some color, and rub with a toy bar and made woodblock prints. So everybody in the country, we're talking 2 generations ago when I was a kid, everybody in the country had some familiarity with making woodblock prints. Now these guys, as collectors, they weren't printmakers. They would be a doctor, lawyer, teacher, whatever, just normal people. And they would commission the other stuff from the professional workshops. But this looks like something they might have made by themselves. And we have, oh, there's the character. There's the kanji I want. There it is. The one that was on the front that I couldn't read. It's tsurai. It's not saiwai. What? I'm stuck now. This is the kanji for tsurai. Strict. Hot food sometimes is karai, sometimes it's tsurai. It burns your tongue. It's strict. It's hot. It's tsurai. You know the movie Otoko wa tsurai yo. Life is tough and difficult. Tsurai bi utsukushii kai. You've got me. It sounds like a bizarre name. This is it. It's tsurai. How would you pronounce it? When I thought it was saiwai, that would be yukimikai. But this is not yukimikai. Tsurai. Kanji. Who's been studying kanji? Alternate readings. Shin. Shin, it's also pronounced. In combination, you pronounce it shin. In that case, that would be shimbi. Shimbikai. Shimbikai, does it sound like a good name? It's a parody name. I get it. It's a parody name. Different kanji. Shimbi gun. It's the word for, I forget the English word. The person who's got some eye for beauty. He likes going to museums. He likes looking at paintings. He's got the kind of eye that likes beauty. Give me an English word here. Oh my God, give me the English word. Some guy, aesthetism. So that's not this kanji. But it's the same pronunciation. Shin. I can't draw it for you with my finger. Shimbigan is having an aesthetic eye. So these guys, my first guess here, these guys have parodied the sound. Instead of shimbigan, it's shimbikai. Kai is group. Tsurai utsukushii. Strict beauty group. It's kind of a connoisseur. That's my guess. And this album, look at this, they've each done the same thing. You can see clearly they've done the same design and everybody's handed it in as an assignment. Tanaka, Oda, Ozaki-san. Look at this. Furuya-san. They must have had the idea to put the same image out to everybody in the group. They passed it around or something, and everybody did their own amateur little carving and printing of this. This is a treasure, a little treasure. This is a treasure. I know these guys. I don't know them, but I see these names all the time, all the time, all the time. When we had these, when you see these print sets, lots of these print sets, they've got the handle name on of each of these people in these groups. As it happens, the group I'm trying to show you right now doesn't, but whatever. I didn't prepare for this. I'm sorry. These are extra copies we've got sticking around here. So we see these names come up all the time. Oda-san, Furuya-san. Here they are. They're working by themselves. Look at this. This is cool. Page after page after page of them. This is amateur work. I'm sorry, I'm showing you amateur work here, but this is so much fun. These are the guys who are collectors of these prints, and this is an album they've put together of each of them trying to make prints themselves. This is a Suzuki. It's the autumn. No, it makes sense because this is the September album. What a treasure this was. What a treasure. Some of these guys are less proficient than others, but it's okay. It's okay. They must have had such fun getting this album. These are ghost colors on this one. Interesting. Interesting. This is cool. This is cool. Oh, and there it is again. So, Shimbikai. They've got their, that's the official couple for the group. Yes, yes. Okay, I am a happy camper. This is very nice, very nice. I had to pay for this thing. It was more than $100. I had to pay for it, but I am very, very, very happy. And now we've got some other stuff mixed in. There's some of the professional stuff now is mixed in. So this would be the album going out for September. There would have been another album following it in October. I don't know. This is, I don't know, what's happening here? This is 1931, so what's the political situation? This is politically influenced? There's a, I don't know, no idea. Swords. Looks like George Washington. It says Washington, Washington. The groups haven't been sorted out. It is a group of scenery. It looks like Chinese scenery group. There's another one over here. There's a Chinese scenery group. Is that a separate waterfall group? This isn't a very well organized little album here. I'm sorry. These are views of Tokyo. This is Meiji Jingu, it says. Oh, Hakone, on the Tokaido. That's a parody of one of Hiroshige's prints. So in 31, I don't think the Chinese War had started yet, I think. I'm a little bit vague on my history. I think the war with China started in the early 30s. And that was continuing through the rest of the decade until the 1940s when they started war with, everybody else. But at this time, 1931, I don't think they were actually at war. They were building battleships and getting ready and stuff like that. Well, here's more Tokaido prints. Hiratsuka. This is Hiratsuka on the Tokaido. And this is Odawara. And the images here are ripped from, in fact, that's funny. Last night I'm preparing my next video, which is going to be about the Tokaido. And both of these prints are going to feature in the video. So last night I was scanning this one. Okay, I'm not going to give you the answer, but this little picture here, what is going on? This guy is obviously, he's a runner. He's a hinkyaku, on a winged feet. He's one of the runners that go back and forth down the Tokaido. And what is happening in this picture? And I'm not going to try and answer it right now. It'll be answered in the next video that we make here. Crossing the river, some people on piggyback, some people getting really the upscale treatment, some people on a frame that many people carry. Know how much it costs? Costs you $1 to go across this way, $5 to go this way, $100 to go this way. I don't know. No idea what the price list was. horses. I'm not so sure about the Japanese ability to draw horses. I really don't know. What a treasure of an album this is. What a treasure, treasure, treasure. For sure, this is going to go on our list to get scanned. Here, you can see part of the history here. I said these things, these weren't intended to be stuck on matchboxes, but the history came from matchboxes. And look at this. You know, there was the match thing that had flapped, and there was old match boxes. There was an actual box that slid open. Here it is, the front cover, the side, and the back cover. So some of these at this point were overlapping. These were made also to be put on match boxes. This is where things are separated from utilitarian to a hobby use. These are pages, they weren't in the auction. I haven't seen these before. What's this? Another date, Showa 6. Oh crap, we've got a kanji reading. No way, I'm going to show off my ignorance here again. I wish we had somebody that can really read calligraphy very well. Here's the group name. It's the same group name now. It's Shimbikai. Something I can't read. We have face. And collection. The Shimbikai face. Oh, look. Bingo. Bingo. Here it is. Here's the guys themselves. They must have commissioned. These are not homemade. These are commissioned. They must have commissioned a workshop to do a series of pictures of the faces of the main people in the group. Here they are. Here's Oda-san. Ozaki-san. Look at this. This is their faces. Here we are from 1931. Smoking. Okay, away we go. 1931. Ogawa. This is Furuya-san. He's one of the two main guys who were Furuya and Oda were the main guys in this group. Caricatures. They must have commissioned someone to do caricatures. Oh, I would have paid twice, 3 times as much for this. What's this? This isn't the auction. Shimbikai. Oh, it's Showa 6. Oh, look at this. Look at this. It's a discussion. Notice to the members. Tokubetsu Kaien. What's this? Just a minute. Tokubetsu Kaien. Special group members. It's names and addresses. This is Kobe City, somebody's name here, Nagai-san. It's a members directory. You have got to be kidding. You've got to be kidding. A members directory. Look at that. Okay, this group, these are people who live in Osaka, Kobe and Osaka. Then this next group, that's Nara. Then the next group is corrections and updates to the regular members. So these people live in Tokyo. This isn't a full members directory. It's a special group for the Kansai people, and then corrections and additions to the Tokyo members. I'm sorry, this is nothing to you guys on there, nothing. But it's just, I don't know, whatever. What names do we have here? This is Ozaki, must have changed his address. Harada-san is here. You've got to be kidding me. Look. This is Harada-san. Harada Kametaro. It's his desk. I'm carving at his desk right now. It was given to me years ago. It says Shin Nyukai. So he must have just joined the group. There's another one. Oh, come on. This is rich. This is Nagao Kaneyoshi. Nagao Kaneyoshi. He's the grandfather of the woman who owns this building. My landlady. I got to show her this. She's going to have fun. I've got to show her this. 1931. This is, what do you call it? It's a gariban. When I was a kid in school, like the teachers would take the class attendance and then run down to the secretary's office. She would scribble something out and then crank. And you had these sheets they passed around to each classroom. It's in the era before photocopying. It's, I don't know what it's called in English. Mimeograph, something like that. And it's terrible quality, absolutely terrible quality. The Japanese in 1931 might have been good at building battleships, but I don't think, whatever. Oh, look at this. Okay, I can't sit here and try and decipher and read this on the stream, but I am so happy to get this. So happy. This is an absolute researcher's treasure. What's this? The back page. No way. It's a list of the prints that each member has sponsored during the year. And here's the guys. This is Ogawa-san, Ozaki-san. 6 groups, 240 prints. 1 group and 40 prints. I think that's what it means. The amount of shuppin, I don't know, the amount of stuff they have published, put up. Oh, memory, there's some errors. If the people who didn't get their data in time for the Shimikiri, it won't be included. Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not sure if this has been such a great show and tell. I'm sorry. We really should maybe focus more on looking at prints. I'm sorry. But we got this just now, and it is really, really, for us, it's hugely interesting, hugely informative. Even though the prints themselves in this particular group are not particularly well made, this is an absolute treasure for our collection. Now, our collection is focused on 20th century traditional Japanese prints. There's lots of modern work done in the 20th century. We don't do that here at Mokuhankan. We focus on the traditional stuff. And the more historical knowledge we can gather about how it was done in these eras, end of Meiji, into Taisho, into early Showa. And this is ground zero for us. Learning who was collecting these prints, who was buying them. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. The other cool thing about it is, this has been stuck in a drawer somewhere for, you tell me how many years. The guy would have got it in 1931. They would have enjoyed it, consumed it, used it, goes in a drawer. He eventually passes away. It sits in a drawer. Someone looks at it now and then. And now, finally, it has come to a place where we know what this is. I don't know everything about all the stuff that's in here, but we know what this is and how to use it. It's going to be scanned, photographed, put on the net, described. It's now going to become open where everybody else can help research and help learn this. It's finally come home. This thing has been sleeping. 1931, how many years is that? 88 years, 89 years. This has been waiting. It's the Cafe Satsuki. That's the place. It must have been the cafe run by one of the owners of this group. I forget which person. One of the members in this group was the owner of a cafe, and this may have been part of the big connection. The cafe would have had to supply matchboxes for their smoking customers, and that cafe owner, I can imagine the story, learned about the match labels, became a member of the group, and actually became a real heavy sponsor member. We see Cafe Satsuki all over the place in many of these collections. And this, so somebody's saying then and now. That's exactly what this would have been. It's exactly what they try to do. These things are always in themes. There's always a story. There's always something going on. And this is right. It's a woman from 200 years ago and a woman from that era. Every print with a story. Every print with a story. Okay. Okay. I've got to get going. First thing I have got to do, absolutely I have got to do, is get a cup of coffee and get some breakfast. And next time, set my alarm a little bit earlier. Actually, that wasn't the problem. The alarm went off, but it's okay. We don't need to go there. Here we are. Okay, Thursday. I'll be back at this 2 more days. Saturday morning, assuming the world is still up and running. Saturday morning, I'll be here for the next stream, continually carving. I'll be carving more of that tree and more of those pine needles. Well, pine needles are done. Okay, guys. Thanks very much. Coffee. And of course, somebody keeps reminding me, it is decaf. Also, that's another story. Next Tuesday, I have my next eye exam. We know what's going on. I have, quote, advanced glaucoma, unquote, in my right eye. So every 3 months, I have to go back and they do the lights and flashing stuff. And we have to figure out how quickly or how slowly this stuff is affecting my right eye. So next Tuesday, I will learn. Almost no change from 3 months ago, or it's eaten much more of my eye from 3 months ago. We don't know. Anyway, they tell me that caffeine is not so good for this. It helps increase the pressure. So for me, the coffee these days is decaffeinated coffee. They call it in Japanese caffeineless. Okay, anyway, see you on Saturday morning. Thanks very much for watching. Sorry about the stomach rumbling. See you next time. Bye for now.